Hey, this is Jesse with Trax Brax. Today we're going to be working on an RMAX 4-seater. We're going to be putting Backcountry's LT Tracks, that you see in the back of the truck, onto these. Normally they're a Can-Am product, so they do not fit. So with our conversion kits that are out, we can fit multiple models, but we're going to be retrofitting them to the RMAX today. So let's get to it. All right, we just got here to Lone Mountain Metal Works. This is where we do all our manufacturing. I'm introducing you to Jake. He's the owner of Lone Mountain Metal Works. We're going to be working today on a RMAX 4-seater, like I told you before. Let's jump right in. Let's do it. All right. Now this is the Trax Brax hub conversion to go to the 4-on-156 to 4-on-137 for the tracks. So these, after installing, we just installed our hub conversion or adapter to go to the 4-on-156 to the 4-on-137. With the way the tracks are designed, the lug nuts will hit, so we have to use an open-end lug nut and then throw these spacers just on the rear, so that way the track can sit flush on the hub, and then we have all the proper clearance. So we'll go ahead and throw these on the rear. All right, so this bracket is for our tracks, because with the conversion kit we design a whole new anti-rotation, so we don't use any of the BRP products for the anti-rotation. So this is the track bracket for the rear that ties into the frame, reinforces the rails, so it's sharing the energy of the anti-rotation arm throughout the center of the track, which creates a lot less fail points of when hard impacts or hard articulations. Alright, so these are our anti-rotation arms that we use for the rear tracks. I use these over using the BRP ones because they're shorter. I can control the geometry per machine so you get the best articulation, because the problem with BRP is they're too long. They go up underneath the radius rods. When your track articulates up, they hit on the radius rods, which instantly breaks your heim joint or bends the arm or bends brackets. Got the 1" 3/8 carriage bolt. Go in these. That way it makes it easy on the trail, not having to have multi wrenches to tighten something if something comes loose. And we'll leave that loose until we got them installed and the tracks on the machine. So this is our front bracket that goes into the track. This holds the anti-rotation arm to hook up to the vehicle retrofitted. This is a part of our conversion kit. The anti-rotation arm mounts here. We tried to strengthen the design with our conversion kit for the tracks. So normally the BRP ties into one location, where this ties into multiple locations, tying into the rail and also tying into the frame that holds the rail, so that way when absorbing impacts and energy, it's not bending this one bracket that the factory arm is hooked into. So now with this, we have a lot less failures with track and anti-rotation arms and heim joints. So now that we have our hub conversion on for the bolt pattern, we slid our track into place. You can see the studs are pointing through. So now we're just going to put our lug nuts on and tighten everything up. Be sure though, when doing these, you torque those nuts on the conversion on the hub, because as you can see, that's why they're covered up now. So you can't get to them again, so that's why we've got to make sure everything's torqued properly on these rears before throwing the tracks on, because you won't be able to get to those nuts unless the lug nuts, unless you pull the whole track off again. So. set up these anti-rotation arms and adjust them, we want the suspension to be in its resting operating position. So when you set it down, the tracks hold it, everything's all bound up and sitting super high. So you can either drive it forward or jump on it like I did to get the suspension, everything to go to operating position. Right now we're taking out the caliper bolts. Our bracket goes into place on the spindle, and this is what we have our patent on, is hooking into the spindle, because hooking in this way, for one, the bracket is staying in the right geometry as whatever the track does through its suspension stroke and travel, and it doesn't matter what A-arms. With this design, it's not putting excessive wear and tear because it's not scratching up your powder coat of your lower A-arm with a traditional bracket that hooks to that, because your A-arm's doing one thing and your track's staying level, so your heim joint's having to take all that abuse. And so with this way, the bracket is doing exactly what the track is doing, so that way the heim joint, all it's got to do is swivel on the bolt to accommodate its contour of following the ground and its articulation. These are our spindle brackets, so these will hook into utilizing the factory securement points for your caliper. We give hardware that'll accommodate the thickness of the bracket, so you pull the factory bolts out, you don't have to remove your caliper. These will go in place. You will put the longer hardware that we have to secure them in your caliper back. And now this is what we have our provisional patent on, is these brackets, because now doing it this way, everything works better with the articulation of the track and the geometry. Plus you can work with any suspension configuration out there because it's hooking into the spindle, so you can have wide travel, high clearance A-arms, forward facing A-arms, skid plates, and these will still hook in and you can still run your tracks. So now with the bolts that are going to be going in to hold these brackets that are replacing the factory bolts, we do like to use quite a bit of red Loctite. There's a lot of vibration, harmonic when you get into hard pack. So it's just really crucial to red Loctite these, because they're prone to coming out with all the vibrations that tracks have came. But if you red Loctite them, we haven't had an issue. So as I was explaining before about our caliper bracket, so now we got this in place, got the bolts in place, the longer ones to accommodate the thickness of the bracket. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up and get both of these on. I put red Loctite on these bolts. All right, so the last step is when the machine now is where it's going to be with the front tracks on and level. All you're wanting to do with the rears, you don't have to set up the angle of attack, is just where the suspension is resting in its operating position. And then with everything sitting level, you will just adjust these heim joints, so you can just screw them in or out like that to adjust the length to meet up to our bracket. So I have these adjusted. Actually, I'll give it one more turn. Now we're going to put the bolt, we'll put a washer on the head just like that, and then I do 2 washers in between the heim joint. So I run it through, put the 2 washers on like that, and then I will line this up with the bolt hole just like that. We will put 1 more washer on this side and then the nut. And now I'll tighten this up. I will take my 3/4, as well as this jam nut here. Now we'll tighten this up like that. Now everything's adjusted. Then I'll take my 15 and 17 mil, and this is the last part. And then we are done with all the brackets and anti-rotation arms. So we'll tighten bolt these up like so. And now this corner is done and complete. We will, you know, we'll get all 4 corners done, and then the last step is rechecking the lug nuts and doing a final torque on the lug nuts as we're rolling out. So today we're gonna button it up. We didn't quite finish. All the rears buttoned up and done. The fronts, this machine has aftermarket spring kit on it. So it changed the geometry on the A-arms, which is making hard issues to clearance bolts on getting bolts in and out for the brackets. So we're having to make some changes to the brackets just for this one machine. But we'll probably keep it going moving forward, so that way anyone else has aftermarket springs and that's it, we won't have an issue with clearance. So in the morning we're going to get back at this with showing you guys the changes that we made tonight and showing finished product and how it installed. So thank you very much. So here we're back. Yesterday it was dragging on, so we called it quits and we finished it up this morning. We had to make some changes what made it drag on, and also why you see the everything is raw is because we didn't have time to powder it. We're letting this customer, he wanted to ride this weekend, so we promised him it would be ready, so we'll let him ride and we'll send him brackets when they're done powder coated. So with these, we tie into the frame. This is our bracket with the conversion kit. We tie into the frame and the high fax rail of the Trax, so that way it absorbs the energy and disperses it throughout the track more evenly without bending this one bracket where normally the anti-rotation arm hooks up to. You're going to be removing the 2 10mm bolts. There's a plastic cover here, and you will pull that off and you can get to the caliper bolts that I'm pointing at. You will pull those bolts out and then do not remove the caliper. You can leave it on. Put our bracket in place just like we showed in the rear earlier in this video. You will put the bracket in place and then red Loctite, tighten everything down. Then you will adjust your heim joint to get the angle. I run flat. I run this as level on the ground, and you adjust your heim joint to give you that angle of attack. Then you hook it up with our bolt that we supplied. Then we tighten everything down after that. We do not run limiter straps with this, being that our bracket hooks into the spindle. There's no need now that the heim joint is not accommodating steering. All right, guys, well, thank you for tuning in on this, and appreciate your time. And this is how our conversion kits mount up. So look forward to giving you guys reviews and follow-ups on this when the customer tells us what he thinks. And like always, just like and subscribe on this channel, and thanks for watching.